Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Science of B2B. My name is Kerry Cunningham. I head up Sixth Sense Research and Thought Leadership, and I'm a former analyst for Serious Decisions and Forrester. All right, so in the last couple of episodes, we've had a theme about the point of first contact. But to show you that it's just not all statistics and anthropology with me, today's theme comes from the late, great Jimmy Buffett. And that theme is, if the phone doesn't ring, it's me. So what do we mean by that? Well, we've been looking at what happens during that B2B buying process and what's going on. And we've seen that there are lots and lots of interactions, that those interactions occur mostly digitally, that everybody on the buying team is having hundreds, literally hundreds of interactions with vendors. So we know that much so far. But here's the most important thing. Almost all of those interactions are anonymous. So there are some numbers that have been thrown around, and we've been throwing around a bunch of them, and I want to put them in context for you. So we know that 3% of B2B web traffic is anonymous. Now, we've asked buyers, we've asked marketers, we've asked sellers, we've asked lots of different people about what B2B form fill rates are like, and the answer comes back, between 3 and 4%, let's say. And there's very little that you can do to change that, and there aren't a lot of patterns there either. That's just kind of what the number is. That's how many people fill out forms. But when you look at the 3% rate, what you find is, well, most of those people that are being counted as visitors aren't people after all. They're bots, about 45% bots or something like that. And then there are lots of people that you don't really care if they fill out a form. There's students, competitors, etc. So we don't care about all of that web traffic. So how do we understand about the web traffic we do care about? Well, our friends over at Path Factory use Sixth Sense to understand where visitors to their customer websites are coming from, what accounts they're coming from. All right, so they do that account identification of web visitors. They also know which ones have filled out forms. So they have a really good view. If you can identify an account, they know how many people, both anonymous and known, have come to your website from that account, and also what they're looking at. So when they look at all of their data, which they did in a study about a year and a half ago, what they found was if you can identify the account, then about 20% of the people from that account will have filled out forms. And that means that really of the accounts that you could probably sell to, the accounts that are shopping you, about 20% of those people are going to fill out forms. Now in there's probably plenty of people that are really genuine prospects. And so that's a really good number. 20% of people from accounts fill out forms. In our buyer experience study, we asked people, did you fill out a form on the website of the vendor that you actually bought from? So this is the vendor website that you bought from. Did you fill out a form? That number came back 30%. 3% of all visitors, but that includes bots and stuff. 20% of individuals from identified accounts, and 30% from the accounts who actually buy from you. What that means is that 7 out of 10 of the people on the buying team that buys from you don't fill out forms. And how much of a difference would it make if you knew that there were 7 or 10 people from this account and just 1 or 2 from this other account? That's really what it's about, is identifying which accounts are really in market for you, identifying the ones where you really do need to putting your best foot forward, the ones where you ought to be customizing their experience, making sure that they feel the love from you, that they get the attention that they deserve. Those are the ones where you have multiple people from that account on your website. So that's really, really critical to know. There are a couple of other numbers that I think are just they're kind of staggering, but you really need to know these. One is that, and it's the same number for both, 37% of B2B buyers, members of actual buying teams, say that they responded to an SDR email or an SDR sales phone call. 37% responded to a seller in some way. 51% said that they actually reached out at some point in their buying journey to the vendor that they're interested in, or a vendor that they're interested in, to get more information. Only 30% are going to fill out a form to see content. 37% are going to respond to your sales reps. 51% are going to reach out to you when they have questions or they want to talk to you. So if the phone doesn't ring, it's me, is one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is they're going to get in touch when they're interested, when they are definitely shopping to you. Now, I know you're not going to want to sit back and wait for that, and I'm not advocating that you sit back and wait, but I am advocating that you don't chase after everybody who fills out a form. The other thing to know, of course, is that the vast majority of people who do fill out forms are not part of a buying process. If you have forms on your website that people have to fill out in order to see your content, if your content's any good, you're going to get some people who fill out the forms. They are not in a buying process. If they are in a buying process and they haven't reached the 70% point yet, they are going to ignore you until you get there or until they get there. So it is almost a complete waste of time to follow up on those folks who have not yet asked to be contacted or who haven't contacted you directly. And that is not an easy thing for most everybody to hear. I ran B2B teleservices teams for most of my B2B career. And that's certainly not what we would wanted to hear, but it's really going to be about identifying those in-market accounts and focusing our attention on them and not chasing after every lead. All right, so that's enough for this episode. I think I'll let you chew on that till the next one. In the next episode, we're going to talk about why B2B buying processes are so long. We've already talked about some of those things. There are just a lot of interactions that have to take place, and making buying decisions is very difficult. We're going to look at what happens when you add or subtract a vendor from the vendor list. And that's going to tell us a lot about what's going on in that buying journey. All right, so until next time, thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time on the Science of B2B. And don't forget, we've got a buyer experience report that has a lot of the data that we're talking about here available to you on our website, no form required, and also a buyer identification study and benchmark that you can access as well. Thanks, everybody.